Unleash. Are you listening? Can you hear me? This is Unleash. Are you listening? Can you hear me? This is Unleash. Are you listening? Can you hear me? This is Unleash. Are you listening? Can you hear me?
With your host, Brandon Tierney. In 3, 2, 1.
What's on, everybody? Your boy's playing a little bit hurt today, not feeling so well, but we plow through it. What's happening? Unleashed. It is a No Rules Friday here on the show, and it's going to be a great day. It's going to be a great weekend as the Big East descends upon the Garden. By the way, this is awesome. So this hasn't happened since, I think, 1994. Last time that you had 4 of the initial charter teams, going back to the origin of the Big East, 1979, at the semifinals of the Big East tournament. It's the mid-90s, and that's what we have going on today. So again, you can probably hear it. You can probably see it. I'm not feeling fantastic, but nobody cares about that. Shut up and do your job. And I can't wait to get to the Garden. St. John's just looked really good yesterday. Seton Hall's going to be tough. You got UConn. You got Villanova. And speaking of the Big East and speaking of St. John's, shout out to our great sponsors. We love them. They've been so good to us. Sullivan, Papain, Big Johnny following, Big Johnny supporter, and, of course, a big supporter here at the show. So we got a little something of everything today here, J-Rod. I wish I felt better, man. You're going to have to carry a little bit of the mail today.
The flu game. Come on.
Wow.
Let's go.
The flu game. I don't know if I'm ready to drop 35, but see, this is the difference. Like when you don't feel well, right, and you have a corporate job. Like, I was never one to really miss time. Like, I never even really took all my vacation when I was at the Fan and other spots. I would leave a couple of days on the floor. Like an idiot. In hindsight, I probably should have taken every single day.
Yeah.
But, it's just like, again, do your job. Get on the air, do your job. There's no excuses when you've got to walk, 13 steps down into your home office, But what I did last night, I was at Verizon yesterday. That's why we ended the show a little bit early. Oh my God! It was what a great day. I'm going to have some videos coming out, some pictures. Oh. What a great team! What a great campus they have in Basking Ridge, New Jersey. Chris, who was a really good friend of mine and really high up at Verizon, just a phenomenal Q&A. Awesome. There's probably about 100. Jay, there's probably about 120 something higher level Verizon executives on the scene. Yeah. Oh no, it was a big room, but it was, and I woke up. And the night before, I hadn't really slept, not because I was nervous. I love doing this stuff, but I just really couldn't sleep much. And I'm like, oh, man. And like, I don't know if you go through this, but when you have something that you have to do, and then you start thinking about, it's 12 o'clock. All right. And which is not a big deal, but it's 2 o'clock. I haven't really slept much. It's 2:30. You start counting down the hours to when you have to get up and what you have to do. And it actually makes it worse. So I didn't really sleep a whole lot. But it was awesome, man. We crushed it. They crushed it. It was really a lot of fun. And then when I got home last night, and man, I can't remember the last time I did this. I went and I got some chicken soup, and I actually drank some NyQuil, which I had not had in a while, man. Have you ever had that stuff?
Of course, man. I've had my stints where I've been like in a NyQuil fugue.
Yeah, yes. Yeah. It does make you a little wacky. I'm not gonna lie to you. So I don't know what I'm gonna say today. I still feel the remnants of chugging some of that NyQuil last night, man. But at least I don't quite feel the sick. But let's jump into the show, man. We got a little baseball, we got a little hoops, we got a couple things from the NBA and college. So we've got a nice variety there. So it's interesting too. We got the WBC tonight, and I'm into it. Now I'll be getting 5:30 St. John's, 6:30, 7:30, 8. Yeah, I'll probably get home at about the 3rd or 4th inning. I'll be following, Mark DeRosa. We'll get to him in a bit. Absolutely avoided disaster with that ridiculous gaffe the other day. So it's United States and Canada. You should whack them, but we're also supposed to whack Italy, so you don't really know. And then the game before that is Korea and the DR. And then, of course, games throughout the weekend. And then you get to the semifinals, and then you get to the championship. I believe the championship is either, I won't say Tuesday or Wednesday. And, I was thinking about this, right? And it's hard not to, and I'm not trying to start trouble here. Like, I mean this sincerely. I'm not. I think a little bit too much was made of it a year ago. Oh, Juan Soto doesn't look happy. Oh, Juan Soto looks miserable. Oh, Juan Soto misses the Yankees. Whatever. You signed your contract. You're worth it. That's what the market said. You're a hell of a player. Go and do your thing, right? But it is hard not to notice the difference in enthusiasm and energy that Juan Soto shows in, with his Dominican teammates and, what he at least showed last year with the Mets. Now, again, I don't think it's a massive deal. I really don't. But I think it does lead potentially to maybe a more interesting question. And I'm going to incorporate Aaron Judge here, right? And to lay this out, the pressure on Judge, and I'll put quotes around the word pressure because, as I said the other day, like if there's no tangible consequences negatively, like is there really pressure? I might think about that. Like, well, if you don't get a job and you've got to cut rent or you got to pay the mortgage or you have a car payment and you don't have any money, that's pressure. But, Yankee fans calling up the fan and tweeting away and Met fans doing the same thing. All right, it's noise, but is it really palpable pressure? The answer is no, because like if Judge doesn't win the World Series, he's still getting every dime, but he's still an all-time great. And if Juan Soto doesn't win a World Series with the Mets, he's still getting every dime, but he's still going to be a terrific hitter in the history of baseball. But what I think is really interesting to me is that, and so I'm going to use the word pressure loosely. I'm going to do that, right? To me, like there's such a thing as equity, and equity is really important to me. And I'm going to use Jalen Brunson as an example. So Jalen was not drafted by the Knicks, as we know. He came here, but he left a lot of money on the table when he had a chance to sign that contract, right? And he did that because he wanted to give the organization the best chance to win. And even though like he wasn't drafted by the Knicks and developed by the Knicks, and when you draft somebody, there's that connection. Like think about like somebody like Aaron Judge, or for the Mets like David Wright coming up in the system. When they were injured, like with Wright with his back or Donnie with his back, there's a different sensitivity. There's probably less frustration and more sadness for the player because you feel like you know them more. And I'm going to use the word equity, so Jalen's kind of counter to that because I think Jalen Brunson's got a ton of equity. And even if Jalen wasn't to ever win an NBA championship with the New York Knicks, I think he'd still be very much revered, more so than somebody like Carmelo, who I think was kind of judged a little bit differently. And I think rightfully so for the reasons I'm not going to get into now. I want to keep it with Judge and Soto. So let's say Aaron Judge never wins a championship. Aaron Judge is still one of the best players of all time, one of the greatest Yankees of all time, high character, incredible production. Yeah, when they're taking calls, if radio's still around at that point, 10, 15, 20 years down the road, and you're talking about like you hear a DiMaggio or a Mantle, or you hear some of these great names, titans of the game, and if Judge is without a championship, that's going to make its way into the chat. I understand that, but I don't think it will be vitriol. I think it will be disappointment from the fans. I think it will be disappointment. I think it will be more contextualizing for me, like what Brian Cashman failed to put around the Aaron Judge. Like that's how I would process no championships for Aaron Judge. Now, again, the one World Series he was in, he didn't play well. He dropped the pop-up. That's never going off the resume. But the only thing that would maybe change from disappointment to sporting vitriol would be if he gets back there and it's a close series and he just does not perform, like he pulls a Dave Winfield like Dave did back in the 81 World Series. With Soto, all right? With Soto, I do think it's different in this sense. Number one, you see this joyful, unbridled passion that he has with his fellow countrymen, right? And I know that there's a heightened, enthusiasm for the W. Even the Japanese players who are historically, I don't know if sedate is the right word, but like they're just it's part of the culture to be a little less bombastic. I mean, we've seen Shohei Ohtani, like I think he threw his hat or he threw his glove, like he just went bonkers, and I think that's great. But you see, like the one version of Juan Soto who's just cracking home runs left and right, and I mean that lineup is insane, right? And now you get to year two with the Mets. Year one, it was interesting. The numbers were there. I think if you watch the Mets on a night-to-night basis, there's nobody that would say, if they know baseball and they're being honest, that Juan Soto was great in totality. He got to the numbers, but there was a lot of peaks, some valleys. The clutch factor was not there, stunningly, because he's almost always clutch. And he didn't seem to be having a lot of fun. And again, I didn't make a lot of noise about that. We talked about it, but it wasn't like centrally a story for me. But now you've got the added combustibility, I'll use that word, of a couple of guys that you love who are shipped out to change the overall dynamics of the team. One is Pete Alonso, and he wasn't shipped out. He signed, but they didn't want him. And the other was Nimmo, who literally was shipped out. Diaz is different because he's not, it's just different. Not drafted by the Mets, whatever. Maybe the best of the three, but not drafted by the Mets. So I think it's a different energy. I do think that the Mets will be pretty good this year. I do. I actually like the Mets lineup. The Mets are going to be very different. I think that their pitching is going to be better for sure. I think they're probably going to have less power. I think that that's obvious without Pete. But I think that, 1 through 9, I think they'll be a little bit more fundamentally sound, a little bit more contact, maybe a little bit more speed, a little bit less base to base. I think the Mets could be good this year. But the pressure's on now. And again, I'm going to use that word loosely because there's no repercussions. But the pressure is, and he's going to start feeling it more because there's fewer people to deflect it if it comes. Now, if the Mets start 20-9 and the Mets are rolling and Soto's the player of the month and all is good, well, then, there's really nothing to squawk about. The Mets are winning, and I'm sure if they're winning to that extent, I'm sure Juan Soto's in the middle of it. But now let's look at the opposite of not 9-20, but let's say they're, middling along and, 15-14 or 15-15, and Soto's off to a decent start, but not a great start. I know that Lindor's still there. And he'll probably get more of a grace period because he's been hurt and looks like he'll make it back for opening day, which is good. But I think there'll be a sensibility that will be deployed where, all right, this guy's barely played this spring, and he's not even a really good starter anyway in most Aprils. Let's give him a little chance to get off the runway. I don't think that patience is going to be there with Juan Soto. And again, I'm not trying to start trouble. I'm really not. This is not about some petty, made-up conversation point. I think it's I really think it's the reality of Juan Soto's situation right now with the New York Mets. And the situation is that he was brought here, even though there really aren't saviors necessarily in baseball. It's not like, you get an all-time player in the NBA and that player is a savior, because one player in basketball can clearly elevate the product a lot more than one great player in baseball. But, no more Pete, no more Nimmo, no Diaz. We'll talk about Mendy. I think he's good, but I also think that he was bad last year. And I think that he's got a lot to prove this year. And I'm rooting for him. So there's going to be a lot of noise around these Mets. And I think it would really of course, he wants to get off to a good start. It would behoove Soto to get off to a good start. And I was looking at these numbers. J-Rod, get this up. It's funny. I don't know where these come up with these projections. I was digging on some numbers, right? So this is via FanGraphs, which I like, and I use quite a bit. All right. I mean, let's just go line by line. If Juan Soto hits 272, it's not good enough. If Aaron Judge hits 285, I'd be surprised. The runs are fine. I mean, if Aaron Judge drives in 112 RBIs, I'm saying that's a little bit less than I expect. If Juan Soto drives in 102, I'm like, what are we doing here? If Aaron Judge is healthy and he only hits 43 home runs, something is really off. That's not going to happen. Like, that number could only be low or low relatively if he misses some time. I mean, if Aaron Judge gets the requisite amount of at-bats, I mean, he's in the he's in the high 40s, low 50s. I could see Soto being in that 38 home run range, 35, 37, 40, 41, right in the neighborhood. I think that's pretty accurate. And then obviously when you get to the OPS, you're talking about 10-10 for Aaron Judge, which I think would be very low for him, and 939 for Juan Soto. But, there's really nowhere to duck. And it's a different energy. You think about the targets. You can get that off the screen. Thanks, Jay. You think about the different targets going into the season, right? There's a lot of them for both of these New York teams. Now, I'm not saying Judge is a target, and I'm not saying that Soto's a target at all. But you think about, there's a lot of baseball personalities for both of these teams that, it's go time. Not that it means it's going to change, because we've been saying it's go time for Brian Cashman for the last 10 years, and it doesn't change. He's still here. But, Aaron Boone's contract is up. I mean, that was a short extension. If things don't go well for Aaron Boone, the noise is going to start early. And there's, I think, and Michael Kay said this with me, and I agree, and I love Booney. But I do think that if the Yankees fall short of whatever they think they should be this year, I'm not talking about in April. I'm talking about when you get, Garrett Cole back and you get Rodon back and everybody's healthy, however the season ends, if it's short of what most of us think that they should be, you're going to hear a lot of clamoring, more so than usual, that it's probably time for the Yankees to move on from Aaron Boone. And I think that would be real noise. And I think it would be fairly justifiable as well. So Boone is going to be on, not the hot seat, but in the crosshairs. I think Mendy, you don't get off to a good start. That's you're going to be that seat's going to burst in flames fast. I think same with Stearns. And it's different energy because to think about some of the things that they did, specifically more so to the Mets, where listen, I love what the Mets did. I've been saying for well over a year and a half that it didn't look right. Like, I mean, how many times are you going to run the same lineup out there and not win? And it was painful from a sentimental point of view for many of you, but it was the right move, okay? But it's got to be proven to be the right move. Like, this was a radical overhaul to the base, to the core of the New York Mets. And if it goes well, great, he's going to be lauded. If it doesn't, guess who's going to get crushed? That's another guy that's going to be feeling the heat. That's the general manager. So you've got the GM of the Mets. You've got the manager of the Mets. Cashman seems to be Teflon Cashman, so it doesn't really matter. But you still hear the noise. And then obviously, based on what I said about Aaron Boone, there's a lot of energy that's going to be flowing through this New York baseball season. A lot of teams, they're spending a lot of money. They got a lot of stars. And there's some storylines that are going to have to come to roost here. So I can't wait for the season. I think it's going to be a good season for both. Now, I'll get more into the, like the predictions. So like 1990s, 93 wins. What? Like I'll give you a more thorough analysis as we get closer to spring training. Projected lineups, and I'll do all that fun stuff for sure. But like right now, just a macro snapshot. Yanks are a playoff team. I think the Mets should be a playoff team as well. And if they're not, you got big problems. So Jay, let me ask you something, Jay. You're a fan. It's different, right? Like when you draft somebody. Now you won a championship with the Celtics, but when you draft somebody and they're part of the family, for lack of a better word, sure. I guess the level of tolerance on perceived failures is greater because they're one of yours. But
big time.
When you bring somebody in, that big ticket free agent, and they don't get to the top of the mountain, not only do they have less time in terms of patience, but I think the vitriol then it gets ugly. Then it gets loud. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like a guy like Damian Lillard's like a perfect example. He spent his whole career not really winning anything in Portland and not even really having an extreme expectation to either. He was just kind of their guy, their loyal player, their all-star, sold out tickets, but never was going to bring you to a championship. The second he fled for the Bucks, there started to be this, much greater expectation on him to help lead Giannis and them to a championship.
That's a good point.
Obviously came up short. So, you look at it, and like you said, the players who you kind of bring in first, the players who started with your team, they always kind of get a little more of that love.
Yeah, but specific back to specificity. Jesus, God, I wish I felt better today, man. I'm grinding, bro. I think the specific to Juan Soto, it really is. It is an interesting level of energy, and I think it's made more interesting and different because you got Yankee fans popping off too. Like, I don't really wait until those. Like at this point, I've clearly moved on from Juan Soto, and I've also said many times. I said this on the fan. I wanted him to stay because the Judge Soto dynamic back to back was unlike anything I've ever seen in my lifetime. I mean, it was it had to most closely resemble Ruth and Garrick. Like, really, because even like vintage Mattingly and Winfield, you didn't get that. Even like, say, A-Rod and Teixeira or a few other iterations like Reggie and Thurman, it just wasn't quite like that. I mean, it was a spectacle, man. It was a show, and I wanted it to keep going. But I don't. And listen, some people don't believe me when I say this, and I just can't help them, J-Rod. But I promise you, like any of value, and I really hope that you guys do believe this because I take my job too seriously. I don't take myself seriously. I take my job too seriously, and I take baseball seriously where. I'm not going to be so petty where I allow, some 9-year-old fanboy, influence what I say about Juan Soto because he left the Yankees. Like, he's a Met, and like I said, the day that the Mets got him, I said to Sal, I said, you won. Congrats. Have your moment. I got to lay out. I got nothing to say. So anything that I say about Juan Soto, and again, that's not going to be enough for everybody. Some people will think that it's always going to be rooted in negativity or bias because of the Yankees. If you believe that, I can't help you. I'm just telling you, honest, I'm being transparent. But I will say with him, there are different, it's hard to explain, man. most people we judge just on how they perform. If you really think about it, right? That's really what we should do. But with him, there was some, last year, is he having fun? Like, the when the Mets hit a home run, they take the picture in the dugout. They've got some of those dugout vibes going. And people were saying, Juan doesn't really look happy. He's reluctantly joining in.
Yeah.
And then Sterling Marte talked to him, whatever. And I think that changed a little bit. But, like, it is an interesting juxtaposition. Like, Juan Soto, wearing that Dominican, across his chest and those colors for that great baseball nation, vibing with his country mates. I mean, I don't expect him to do that on May 9th against the Pittsburgh Pirates in Pittsburgh in front of 13,000 people. That's not realistic, but you want to see Juan Soto. I guess at the end of the day, you want to see a more joyous, a more animated Juan Soto this year. That is one thing that I am looking for, and I don't think that that's unfair, Jay. I really don't.
I mean, I think that's fair, and I think, only time will tell with this man.
Time will tell. Yeah, time will tell.
Let's up a chat real quick.
We got here. What's up, BT? Really hope the Mets are getting this version of Soto. Obviously, the numbers will always be there, but I'm looking for the same emotion he's been bringing to the WBC games. Love the show. Thank you very much, Ryan Torres. Yeah, again, but Ryan, to be fair, that's why they're not playing the Pirates on May 9th or whatever I said, but I just tried to give you some innocuous, otherwise mundane Pirates, and early May. No, I didn't say the Braves or Phillies or Yankees Subway Series for a reason. Like, it's unrealistic to project that every day. Number one, there's no need to, it's got to fit the moment. And there's 162 of these big, bad boys, and it's a long run, and it's tough. So I think to expect that from Juan Soto is not realistic every night. I think it's unfair. But I do think that there could be somewhere in between, like the WBC version of Juan Soto, and too often at times for a lot of people, the sullen is not the right word. Detached, businesslike. Again, I'm not trying to be unfair. So whatever word you want to describe how he looked last year emotionally, go somewhere in the middle. And I think that he will. I think that he's more comfortable now. And, I remember reading some articles when he first got to Port St. Lucie. Listen, I think that some players, we expect them to be things that they're not. And, massive contracts, we want that to be commensurate with not only performance, but also leadership. So especially in baseball, some players are just, like they're in their lab, they're scientists, and they're concocting the perfect swing, like the perfect mixture of formula for them that's going to work. And that's really Juan Soto. Like, he's so immersed in his day-to-day minutia of, having such a great command of the strike zone that I don't think he really gets too wrapped up in all that other nonsense. I think to him, it's kind of like fluff, and it's like, it's not going to enhance what he's doing. Now, it does change with the WBC, and I'm okay with that. I think it's interesting, man. I really do. And the more I talk about this, Jay, I really can't wait for baseball. This is a really fun time of year. This is a great time of the year, man. So, again, wish I felt a little bit better, but it is what it is. Tonight, I've got St. John's, Seton Hall. Place is going to be rocking. Absolutely rocking, right? And then you've got Villanova and Georgetown. And as I said, for the first time since 1994, 4 charter members will be there at the semifinal at the Garden. I mean, that's a minute. That's going back to Felipe Lopez and that crew back in the 90s for the Big East, St. John's, and the rest of the conference. So tonight's going to be great. Hopefully St. John's wins. I don't think it'll be easy. And if they do, and they're favored and they're expected to win, then tomorrow night, have a chance to, probably against UConn, although Villanova's tough, to call another Big East championship game like I did a year ago with Mink. And, soak that in the moment, which was amazing, which I never thought they would ever do again based on where they were. And then here we are. You look up and boom, Selection Sunday. All right, where are we going? We're going to Tampa. We're going to Portland. We're going to San Diego. Where are we going? And I'll be traveling with St. John. So I'll bring you guys some good content there. And then, St. Patty's Day. And then you look up and late March.
NBA playoffs.
Well, no, it's baseball season.
Okay, sure.
Well, we'll get to the NBA playoff. Baseball season. And then Augusta, the Masters. And then eventually the NBA playoffs. And that's going to be very interesting with my Knicks and your Celtics. But it's a really good time of the year. And, I was thinking about this, and I full disclosure, I was in bed when I texted J-Rod last night. I really didn't know what I wanted to do today. Like, I didn't want to do an hour and a half on the Big East tournament. I as much as I could, as much as I love it, I didn't think that was, working the majority of the audience, and I wanted to give people a little something more to chew on. And I want to cook up an interesting baseball topic here. And we haven't really talked baseball on the show in a little bit, which is my favorite.
It's been a week or so.
I think it's been more than that.
Really?
Maybe not, Jay. What was the last baseball topic that we actually hit? Think about it. We've done a lot of Geno. We did Goodell and his greediness. We've done the Knicks a little bit. We did NFL free agency for sure.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been a minute. What do we got?
So the last baseball one we did was 1 week ago, and it was the Boone has one more chance.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Pretty good.
Yeah, that was a good one. That's true.
And then, before that, it was a while ago. It was 3 weeks ago. It was the Get Harper to the Bronx.
Oh, that one did. Yeah, that video did pretty well. Yeah. Well, and the more I see Harper with, just the way he looks, WBC with Judge, I want him, man. Yeah. All right, so let's get to this, right? So let's slap it up on the screen. And I want to hear what you guys think about the Soto stuff. It's less about Judge, but, Judge, in the eyes of many, he'll never be an all-in Yankee great if he doesn't win a World Series. I don't look at it that way because I think there's just too many variables with baseball, but you might disagree, and I'd love to hear from you guys on No Rules Friday. I want to hear what you think about the Soto stuff. Now, this is a mistake right here, all right? This is not a mistake with the graphic. This is a mistake on how to handle a mistake. And I love Mark DeRosa. I've said that. Quote, I was on Hot Stove with a couple of buddies today, and I completely missed the calculation, DeRosa said via The Athletic. We knew that Mexico was going to play Italy. At the bare minimum, I would hope that you know who's playing. And then running all the numbers, if we lost tonight with the runs allowed and the runs scored and the outs, so I just misspoke. That's nonsense. See, man, I know it's a tough spot because it's such a basic thing that if you were to truly mess that up, which I absolutely believe that he did, I'm sorry. Now, part of it is me obviously reacting to what he said at the press conference, but also body language. Like, he was really confident, man. Like, I don't know. It just didn't strike me as somebody who was, who misspoke. I'm sorry. I don't believe that. And he even went so far as to say that the guys were up, some of the guys were up celebrating last night, having a good time, and, implying like, well, why are you up celebrating if you didn't clinch anything? I mean, who the hell's running Team USA baseball, man? It's one thing for the manager to make a mistake, which is not a good look at all. Could you have some PR, lackey come and say, hey, Skip, I don't think we really punched our ticket yet. And then if you didn't do that, which they didn't, could you at least please, communicate to Mark prior to what he said, what I just read for you? Don't double down. Say, listen, Mark, you know what? I had a lot going on, and, but there was more to it. You didn't misspeak. You misread the situation. And he even said, he started it with, and it was a longer quote, so we had to cut that off. Otherwise, it really would have fit on the screen. And it's something of like along the lines of, the narrative around what happened. What narrative, man? You created it, dude. You said it. It's not a narrative. We're just reacting to what you said. Like a narrative, I'm going to give you a narrative. A narrative would be, and I don't agree with this, but I'm just, first thing that pops in my head. A narrative for many or some would be Aaron Judge can't perform when the lights are brightest, okay? Which obviously he smashed that to smithereens this past October. But prior to this past October, he's got a couple of home runs at the WBC as well. But prior to that, it was maybe Judge gets a little tight when those lights go on there, right? That was a narrative. That is like people, not that I subscribe to it, but many did. And I understood why. You got to perform at some point, right? But you watch something, you consume something, and then you react to something, and it's partly based in the reality of what you've watched, clearly. So you're reacting to factually based stuff, but then it's also it's kind of a deduction as you begin now to piece things together and extrapolate a little bit and get a sense of what that person might do downstream. Like that's kind of a narrative. Like, the narrative around this guy is he's not very coachable. Like, those are narratives. No, and I love Mark. I got to keep saying this, man, because I really do love Mark DeRosa. But like the dumbest thing to do, the worst thing to do from a PR point of view is to, not own it. Dude, just look at the cameras. I fucked up. I messed up. My bad. What do you want? You know, make a joke out of it. Guys, I got that wrong. I fucked up. I'm sorry. That's it. And then it goes away. Because if he would have said that, right? And you say it in your words, Mark. But if he would have said that instead of, and I'm not crushing the guy, I'm just reacting to what he said. But if he would have said something along the lines of what I just presented to you, well, the quote that would have been on BT Unleashed screen would have been very different. And I would have been lauding him for that reaction rather than saying, come on, Mark, you got to be a little bit better than that. I don't know. I thought that was a miss right there. All right. Strategy. That's always a tough one to say there. Strategy. What's going on there, Strat? Jay Sott's going to be fine, Mr. Tierney. He even said that he feels more comfortable because now he's coming back to a place that is a long-term home. Absolutely. No, I believe that. Now, the only thing that I would say, and to differentiate, and to be fair to you, what you wrote, he looked pretty comfortable that first year in the Bronx. But the difference is that wasn't his long-term home because he hadn't signed a long-term deal. Guys, I'm all about giving somebody a little runway to get comfortable. I mean, come on. You know how many stations I've been at and different jobs? You could just take the most recent one. Like the first month of me being on WFAN with Tiki was wildly different than how I felt the last month. Now, the last month was a little different because there's a lot of stuff going on. But in terms of just level of comfort and familiarity and the sales team and just the way business is run, I always had a good relationship with Chris Olivero, but now I worked with him for years, day to day. So I get that. I understand that. You don't think that I think a better example would be, you don't think that I feel a little bit more comfortable doing the show now, this show, than I did when I was in my basement that first day? When I just hit record and all right, we're live. Let's go. It's a whole new world. And it wasn't about like content or, being nervous or not. It was just about the newness of the way I was communicating to you. I mean, my entire professional life, I've been in a studio, literally outside of COVID when I was in here doing the show with Tiki. And there was TV cameras here because we were simulcast at that point. But my entire 21, 22 years on the air, whatever it is, I've always been in a studio with headsets, with a microphone, with, real radio products around me, and with a producer who was there. I can tangibly, I could give him a high five. Jared is virtual. I love Jared, but I don't see him. I don't see him yet. So it's different. So it does take a little time to get more comfortable. I get that. In any walk of life, understood. Whether it's a new partner, a new organization, a new job, a new school, I think that applies to any aspect of life. So of course I'm going to. Yeah, I think that Juan's going to be more comfortable. All I'm saying, and I think he's going to be better. I don't think he'll get off to a rough start. The only thing that I'm saying is, the guys that are gone, and hear me on this, the Mets did the right thing. You had to move on. You want to tell me you could have kept Pete and got rid of Nimmo? All right, I could get behind that to an extent. I still think, big picture was the right move for the Mets. You guys know that. I don't need to always reset that. But, now that Pete's gone and you love Pete, all right, and Nimmo's gone and many of you love Nimmo, all right, Lindor's still here. I don't think that you love Lindor as much as you love Pete. Maybe I'm off base with that. That's my read from a distance. I don't even think that you love Lindor as much as you love Nimmo. So it's a little different. And if things are not going the way you anticipate that they should be going, the targets are going to be Juan Soto and obviously Lindor, but it's going to be Juan because it goes back to the word that I used to start the conversation, equity. There's really just now he'll have more and more and more and more equity as he gets deeper into his Mets career. Keep that up there. I'm going to read that in a sec, Jay. And I'll give you a great example. Think about Carlos Beltran's first year with the Mets, right? 16 home runs. Did not play well. Everybody's like, well, maybe this guy's not a New York player. Maybe he's more of a small market guy. They're the Royals, blah, blah, blah. Well, now they're going to retire Beltran's number, and Beltran's a Hall of Famer, and Beltran's one of the best Mets of all time. Switch hitter, power, great fielder, great on the bases. I mean, just a hell of a baseball player, right? And, I think that's probably now, and think about Juan Soto's first year. It dwarfed Beltran's. So, let's not overstate, how much of a transition it was into Queens for Juan Soto. It didn't look as smooth as it did the year before. It didn't look as smooth as it did early with the Nationals, but I think eventually it will. But if it doesn't, it's going to get loud. That's all I'm saying. Let me get Willie. Willie in Long Beach. What's up, Will? Is that Long Beach, New York, or is that Long Beach, New Jersey? I'm curious about that because I was just in Long Beach, New York, over at my good friend Mike Quinn Borelli's. Did a couple appearances over there. I was there for the Knick-Laker game on Sunday. I've done a couple of St. John. As a matter of fact, I was just texting with Mike today. I wanted to see if he was going to the Big East tournament. So if it is Long Beach, New York, shout out to Borelli, shout out to Mike Quinn and the Borelli's crew. Anyway, been arguing with my family about Beltran getting his number retired by the Mets. I say no. They say yes. What say you? That's a little quick. I mean, I don't know if you have to shove it right down the throat right away. I do. Let me just say this. I see both sides. When I read that, I was like, I'm like, okay. And my initial reaction wasn't, it's not deserving, but it also wasn't like, oh, it's a home run. There's no doubt. You know what I mean? I probably would have waited a little bit, maybe after the Hall of Fame induction and the ceremonies. Listen, I've kind of come full circle here. I don't even think is strong. I'm not even fully sure that the Yanks are doing the right thing with CC Sabathia. But that's my mindset based on what retired numbers were when I was first introduced, to all sports, but baseball. When I was a kid and I was watching the old timers come out, it was in succession, man. It was Mickey Mantle. It was Yogi Berra. It was Whitey Ford. I mean, it was Joe DiMaggio coming out in a suit like baseball royalty, and now, you watch it and you got like, and again, no disrespect, clearly, you got Louis Soho running out. You got like Andy Fox or Homer Bush. It's just very different. So the bar's been lowered. The bar's been lowered across the board. Really? I can launch into an hour on this, but I won't. The bar has been lowered across the board for everything pertaining to the human race. I mean, I know that that's a deep statement, and I'm not going to get too deep into it, but it really is. If you think about humanity, like the bar, how we treat people, that's been lowered. I mean, it really has. How you can discipline kids, it's been lowered by some, not acceptable. Methods of coaching and teaching, you got to have a little bit of a softer approach. Like so many bars have been lowered, man. And I think that baseball and retired numbers and Hall of Fame candidacy, subsequently, I think that they have felt the impact of that. I'm sorry. I mean, you got Harold Baines in the Hall of Fame. What are we doing? I watched Harold Baines' entire career. Man, I thought the guy was good. That was it. I didn't even think he was really, really good. He was good. He was a solid pro. Good lefty stick. DH for about 15 years because he had knee issues. I do remember him vaguely coming up as an outfielder, vaguely. He was a good hitter. He wasn't cranking 40 bombs and hitting 330. I mean, come on. How many All-Star? What do you make? Two All-Star teams? So this has been happening for a while. Even guys like, I didn't see Burt Bly live and pitch in his prime. My dad would be a better person to ask about this. Same with Don Sutton. Some of those guys that finally got in. I don't know. I mean, it's a long way of answering the question. I would love to, and we won't get back here, but I love the very simple question. When you're asked, is so-and-so a Hall of Famer? No doubt. Like there's nothing to think about. You don't have to go and look at numbers and do a deep analytical dive and compare him to this guy. Yep, no doubt. Yep, no doubt. He was absolutely one of the 2 or 3 best players I watched at his position for X amount of years. And by the way, that's good. That's how I define a Hall of Famer. Now, there's some examples where there's just like an abundance of great players, like it's cyclical, so it's not always applicable, this one rule of mine. But to me, for baseball, if you were one of the 2 or 3 best players at your position for 70% of a decade, right? So you had 7 Hall of Fame years. Maybe the first year or 2 you break it in, whatever, back couple of years, you get hurt like Donnie, you fizzle out, whatever, for whatever reason. But if you give me 70% of a decade where you are indisputably, whether your kid opens up a pack of baseball cards or you go to baseballreference.com and you look at the numbers and there's bold and italicized everywhere, like you just know. And that's really one of my arguments for Mattingly. Now, he didn't really have 7 of those. It was probably more 6, and I'm not going to get into a Mattingly debate now because there's nothing to debate. Donnie should be in the Hall of Fame, so that conversation's over. Unfortunately, he's not. but I believe he should be. He's a Hall of Famer to me. I'd much rather have that guy and somebody like Keith Hernandez. And I believe Donnie, I may as well say this, I believe Donnie was better than Keith. I mean, Keith never hit like Donnie. Keith was the better defensive first baseman. But these nutjob Met fans who inundate my timeline trying to, equate Keith Hernandez's offensive prowess to Don Mattingly in their prime, what the hell are you talking about, man? I mean, Keith was a 18, 19 home run a year guy, It's not really close, Met fans, with Keith. But understand that he is a better defensive. He's the best defensive first baseman of all time. And I've got great love for Keith. He's on my all-time Mets team. I got him in the 3 spot. Some of you had issues with that. It's on the channel. Go find it from post-1980, Yankees and Mets. I had Keith batting 3rd. Great fielder, great leader, good contact guy. Now, maybe I'll tell you this. Maybe if I saw him with St. Louis and he was with the Mets all those years and I saw him day to day, maybe I'd feel a little differently. I know co-MVP in 79. I know all that. A lot of triples, a couple of years, higher averages. But come on. He just did not do offensively what Donnie did. Anyway, I can't get to Keith and Donnie now. I'll say this, though. I would rather have somebody like a Mattingly or even an Albert Bell. I'm trying to think of some other names. Keep that up, Jay. I'll get to it. Some other names that really popped and maybe are a little bit short of what you need to be a Hall of Fame candidate. I gave you 2, Mattingly and Bell. We'll just go with that. I'd rather have that player in the Hall of Fame than somebody like Harold Baines, who sticks around forever, and some others, by the way. And it's like, all right, man, they got to these benchmarks and they're good, but was that player really ever the best player in baseball, or the 2nd or 3rd or 4th or 5th or 6th? I mean, was Harold Baines ever that? No, the answer was no. I don't even think that Craig Biggio was that. So this is not to denigrate. And that's the one thing, let me say this too. That's the one thing I don't like about these Hall of Fame conversations. See, what happens is, what had happened was when you talk about certain players and their candidacy, and you're trying to elevate and illuminate the candidacy of others, I think invariably what you do unintentionally is you wind up taking away from the accomplishments of the other player. Like if Harold Baines wasn't in the Hall of Fame, and Harold Baines' name came up from my son saying, hey, Dad, I got a Harold Baines baseball card. Yeah, he's 11 years. I just turned 11. Hey, was Harold Baines good? Yeah, Harold was good. Harold could play. Harold was a good hitter, good ball player, really good. But now, because he's a Hall of Famer, in my crazy baseball mind, where I've got to fight for what's right with the Hall of Fame, I can't be having it. I can't just sit there and say, oh, yeah, Hall of Famer, son, because he wasn't, even though he is, if you know what I mean. So that's one thing that does bother me about the Hall of Fame. Like we unintentionally wind up diminishing somebody who really was good because we're either trying to disprove the fact that, or really prove that they're not a Hall of Famer or elevate somebody else. That's what happens. It happens all the time. BT, who's that from? Johnny Boy. What up? Thank you for that, Johnny. I appreciate it, man. All right, BT, what up? Former, what is
okay, so my guess is he used to be the dude who was commenting under Jay Owen.
Oh, yeah, I remember Jay, sure.
With the advice the other day.
There you go. All right. Guess. Look at Jay right on the spot. Jay, good interpretation. That would have taken me a while to figure out. Johnny Boy 17. There you go, formerly Jay Owen. The NFL has to know we don't want 18 games right. Can we get a live show in Texas? I'm sure plenty of transplants out here. Yeah, I mean, listen, a live show in Texas. I'm going to put boundaries on nothing here. We've got a little ways to grow before we start crossing state lines necessarily. I would think if we ever do something out of state, maybe the first place might be down in Florida. Maybe set up like a little BT Unleashed concert series, right? Do something like that. I've already thought about that stuff. I really have, but we're not there yet. I mean, I've got to be real. We're not there yet. It sounds good, and maybe it's a nice, nice elevation of the ego. Hey, come to Texas. I mean, how many people would actually show up right now? I know my family in Texas would show up. That's a good. So, well, actually, you know what? Maybe that is the place that I should go.
No, you get some good tickets out there.
Hey, everybody, yeah.
You got mutual. If you got mutuals through those people, maybe. I don't know. I mean, I don't know your Texas fan base or anything. I'd say you'd get. I don't know.
How many people showing up? Let's put it this way, Jay. Hold on. If there's no family, so my mother and father-in-law, my brother and sister-in-law, and my other brother-in-law, and by extension, like their friends, and I know Like I know basically all of my wife's friends, and it's a cool group. Like we used to hang a lot. Like great crew, all sports guys. I'm talking about the dudes. I mean, the women are great. The dads are awesome. So if you take away all those people, and they can't go, how many tickets would we actually sell? Come on, we're not there yet, man.
Yeah, no, I mean, I can't even give you a true prediction just because I don't know what the numbers typically would look like. But listen, I'm going at least 30. At least 30.
Well, I think we'd get 30. I think we'd stumble upon 30 as well, but we're not making money on 30, you know?
No, yeah, probably. Listen, it'd be tough, especially with paying for a flight down there.
Exactly. Yeah. Then I got to put you up in a hotel. I got to take care of your accommodation. No, of course. I mean, when we do something on the road, that's part of the gig. I'm not going to make you pay for yourself, but that's why we're not there yet. You know, we'll put you we'll get you that little nickel and dime motel by the side of the highway somewhere in Amarillo, Texas, and then you could drive 5 hours to the show. We can afford that right now, Jay.
Perfect. There we go.
That's you know what I mean? What else?
We can do an Airbnb.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever done that. Airbnb.
I think for people my age, it's good. I think for families, like kind of, your sort of deal. Like when I stayed with one with my family, it wasn't great. It definitely wasn't great.
You see, I don't know. I mean, they got cameras everywhere. I just don't trust it.
It's weird.
That's the other thing too. I don't trust it.
No, that's fair. I think for me, it was just like I was probably 14 or 15, and I was like sleeping in like their 8-year-old's like rocket ship bed, and I was just like, all right, this isn't even remotely comfortable.
Did you ever did you have one of those type of beds when you were growing up, or were you always? I got a funny story for you after. Did you have like a regular bed, or did you have like one of those spaceship beds? Or
no, I think I was always like a regular bed kid. And then I was like bunk bed later down the line. But
you bunked it with your bro.
I don't even think I ever did it with had it with my brother. I think I always had it where I had like a little desk under the bunk bed, or
I know what you're saying,
or something under it.
Okay, yeah, my son's best friend has that. I know exactly what you're talking about. So I had it. It was kind of like God, how high off the ground? I'd have to say it would if I'm 6'2", whatever it is, 6'2.5". It's probably up to my waist, maybe a little bit higher, right? So it was nicely elevated.
Yeah.
And it was my wrestling ring.
Wow.
Oh, well, my parents didn't know it was my wrestling ring, but it was a wrestling ring. So I remember this is another time I thought my dad was going to absolutely put me through the wall. I would come down I had a record player and remember the wrestling album? Yeah, you don't remember. You're too young, but
probably not. But I could conceptualize.
It was like Land of a Thousand Dance. Like there was a whole. It was awesome, and of course Hulk's Real American, right? So I'd play the phonograph or on the record player, and I would take my dad's like white, like I'd take a white T-shirt that my dad had in his thing, and I would start in the bathroom because my bedroom was down the hall, right? And I would play I Am a Real, and I'd start walking down the hall, right? And I'd rip the shirt off. God almighty.
Oh my God.
And then I would climb into my ring, which is my bed, right? And I go through the moves, I do the arm drop, I try to do like Macho Man off the top rope. And one time, which was a desk with a corresponding desk, really jumping into so there was the mattress, and then there was, and if I recall, a fairly thin piece of wood.
Yeah.
And then there was like drawers, like where I would have like baseball stuff and what toys, whatever. Maybe hide a couple of bad tests if I didn't do well. And I remember I would always try to finish off my match. I loved the drop kick. I don't know why I was so enamored with the drop, like a real drop kick, a good one, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I would take my pillow and I would throw the pillow up in the air, and then I would jump. So now I'm parallel to the ground, and I would kick the pillow against the wall, and then I'd jump on top of the pillow. We'd get the 3 count, 1, 2, 3, boom.
That's too funny.
Well, as I did that, the bed broke.
Oh my gosh.
The bed broke, and as I recall, like it didn't go through, and underneath the bed was the kitchen, like my room in the vicinity of the kitchen, like just and I remember my mom was in the kitchen having coffee, I think with her good friend, my neighbor Fran, awesome woman. I believe that I was like 7 or 8. I really think that this would happen. And there was like these like little, like, I don't know, specks of ceiling that came falling down. And my mom's like, what happened up there? And I come up, the bed snapped in half. She's like, wait till your dad gets home. I'm like, oh, man, I'm terrified, man. Yeah. Oh my God. Those beds are cool. Like if you could get one when the kids are young, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it kind of it probably makes you want to go to, like, if you're a kid, it probably makes you want to go to bed a little more than if you got something otherwise. But yeah, little sparks the imagination a little bit.
I've got a documentary that I think you're gonna love.
All right, throw it on me, because what was the De Niro? I've still got it. Well, there's the Requiem 30 for 30.
Requiem for a Big East 30 for 30. You've got a lot of homework this weekend. So the Requiem for Big East 30 for 30, ESPN. That's one. The other one was Carlito's Way, not Bronx Tale, which is also great.
Okay,
but that's De Niro.
Yeah,
Bronx Tale's De Niro. Carlito's Way is Pacino. Carlito's Way is phenomenal.
Okay.
You got to see it. And I don't know if this quite has the same urgency, but it's really interesting. So I came across it the other night, and I think the title is 1975. It's on Netflix, right? Mm-hmm. And it would be very long to explain, but basically the short version, like if you love the history of movies, and really who doesn't? Yeah. And music as well, but this is more movie based. You'll love this because when you got to the mid 70s, somehow I don't know why it timed out that way, but well, I mean, I do. You think about the old westerns like John Wayne, like that was petering out. That was no longer interesting. You know what I mean? Like you get past, and my dad loved that stuff, and his generation loved that stuff. I that always bored me to tears. I didn't like that at all. I don't mean a movie like Tombstone, like that was this, in the last 40 years. I mean old stuff. I never was interested by that. But the older generation used to love it, right? So John Wayne starts to, peter out. Those things are done. And it basically takes you through how much the world was changing, whether it was, Vietnam wrapping up or the different presidents with Jimmy Carter coming in and the oil crisis and how music was changing, getting into disco. And it was just a lot of different genres and things involved. But what I found really interesting is that for whatever reason, in like 1975, most of the Spielberg was on it. I mean, all of these Scorsese, they talked about how that was like the year of the independent filmmaker. That was like and they're boom, like they're like Taxi Drive, like they're just great movies. And then like Jaws came, and then that replaced that. Then it became about the summer blockbuster. So like Jaws and Rocky and Star Wars and E.T. and like that thing that's going to be the pinnacle of the cinematic experience, which always dropped during the summer back in the day. Really interesting. I'd
love to check it out.
Jay, it was one of those things where I'm going, I very rarely have any time, but this was, I guess, 2 nights ago. Kids were in bed. We were done with, everything was, the night was over. And that's an experience in itself for the night. When the night ends with kids, you're like, oh, all right, here we go. Like it's A to Z. It's always something. And I was going through Netflix, and I'm like, hey, do I want to watch this now? And I was a little tired, and I'm like, that seems interesting. And I put it on. It was gripping. Now, I fell asleep for about 5 minutes, so I want to rewind it. I want to watch a couple of parts, but really, really, to hear these directors, these heavyweights, these titans of industry weigh in on that one particular year where it was up until that point, it was this way. And then 75 was thought to be like the golden year of movies. And then boom, everything changed. Not that there weren't good movies after it, but the philosophy behind pumping out movies totally changed. It was good.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, Rod Power right here. 75 has some great movies like Jaws and Dog Day Afternoon. I saw Dog Day Afternoon for the first time. What was it, 4 months ago? I thought that movie was awesome.
I might have a homework assignment. I've never seen it.
Oh, it's Pacino.
I've never seen it.
Whoa.
What?
So I'd be curious as to what you think about it. There's a huge twist in it, major twist in it. Huh. I'd really be curious as to what you think.
Is it a mafia movie?
No, it's a bank robbery movie. But it's unlike any other bank robbery movie you've ever seen.
You know what? I actually think that, no bullshit, that this was the part that I fell asleep on, because I remember they had it. What was the name of it again?
Dog Day Afternoon.
They actually focused on Pacino. This is odd that I remember this and I was half asleep. leaving the bank, the way he was shuffling out of the bank, it's thought to be a very organic. I mean, I didn't really get that out of it. It seemed pretty benign to me. The guy was walking out of the bank, whatever. But like those who study film, they actually pointed to the organic. I know that this sounds crazy, but like the organic nature to where he did it, and that little simple part of the movie drove whatever they were trying to drive home. But I have not seen the movie, but I do know what you're talking about now.
I would check it out. It's a it's weird. It's like a very progressive movie for the time. I would like it. It's strange. You got to check it out.
You saw all the Jawses, right? You saw Jaws?
I've seen Jaws 1 such a long time ago.
That's it? You didn't see 2 and 3 in 3D?
Nope.
Oh, no. Wow. I think Jaws 4 was at Disney, was at SeaWorld.
Really?
Yeah.
That's where they showed it?
That's yeah. I mean, yeah. I'm pretty sure if I remember that right. Yeah. All right, let me get to this here. So we got a little Judge Soto stuff for you. Keep those texts and those chats firing up on the screen, Jay, if something good comes up. Got the DeRosa. All right. So the other day, we know that Bam dropped 83 points. All right. And I want to read you something from the great Mike Breen. All right. And then I got a pretty good story about Mike Breen. I want to make sure I don't forget that. Hold on. I want to write that down. Thank you, Jay. Let me read this. It's pretty lengthy here. I mean, geez, can you make the letters any smaller there, J-Rod? Smaller? All right. Quote, you know what? People love to be outraged. That's just what it is today, Breen said. I can understand on one side that it was made a mockery of down the stretch in the way they were going about it. It's not the normal thing you see in an NBA game. But the other thing about Adebayo is that this is a guy who represents the very best of the NBA, the way he carries himself, the kind of teammate he is, the work ethic that he has. He's been nothing but a great ambassador for the NBA, a high character individual, and his story is amazing. So for him to have a special night like that and the Miami Heat fans to have that as well, I thought that was wonderful too. Both sides are correct points. I'm not trying to cop out by saying that they're both right, but sometimes there's a gray area in there. Not everything's definitive, and we don't have to be outraged by everything. Listen, I think that's a pretty sensible take. I like that. I appreciate Mike saying that. I don't think anybody's really – well, I mean, let me ask you, where was the outrage going, Jay? I mean, to me, it was just my outrage. Let me answer that first. My outrage, it wasn't necessarily at Bam.
No.
It wasn't even though I had some, points of contention with Spoelstra. You had a couple of checkpoints to maybe say, all right, enough is enough here. So I took a little issue with him. To me, the outrage, if we can use that word, that might be a little strong, Mike, but I know what you mean, came from the fact that it was a mockery of something that we cherish, and that's the record book. I don't think it's toward Bam at all.
No, I think my thought is, you can't. Bam is the least at fault here. I rewatched every shot from the game yesterday or 2 days ago just to kind of get a real perspective on what was going down, and it's interesting. Like the Heat were only up 10 in the fourth quarter, at the beginning of the fourth quarter.
Yep.
So it's a scenario where you could have kept him in. Then once they went up 20 and he was at 76. That's when it really started to get egregious.
Correct.
Fouling and stuff like that. So that's where I see where it comes from, where for most of the game, he was doing his thing. He was getting his points, and it was relatively fair. Towards the end is really where it started to blow up. But I think the true outrage should be towards the Wizards. I mean, it's just...
They are a freaking joke. Man.
I think it's a great thing that this happened, and it's a bad thing this happened. I think it's a great thing that this game happened because it illuminates the issue in the NBA of just teams literally getting smacked every night, destroyed. It just goes to kind of put a spotlight on, okay, there is a huge disparity between the worst teams in the NBA and even just the slightly average. And then I think what was bad about the game was it shows you that anyone could do it if their coach really let them. There were not so many, but there are a few decent performances where players got 60 something points through the third quarter, 59 points through the third quarter. But the big difference is their coach never let them stay in for the fourth quarter because, why would, that's just not basketball.
Yeah.
So that was
I hear
the
you.
big difference with this.
Look at J-Rod coming correct. Well done. Very, very well done. You could clip that, make that a little demo reel right there. That was some good, coherent NBA stuff. Good. Well done.
Thank you.
I tried. Jay. Oh, listen, if you weren't good, I wouldn't bring you on the air. I mean, I would just have you do the stuff behind the scenes. I think it's a good contrast. Like, you know, and you're welcome, but you don't have to thank me. You've earned it. You've earned a little bit of juice here on the show. And, you know, again, if you were mumbling, stumbling, I wouldn't have hired you. But if you were a mumbling, stumbling fool, nobody would know what you look like because I wouldn't let you on the show.
This is how.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. There you go. Why don't you hit that button again? Get me back up on the screen. Let's take care. There you go. Thank you. All right. So here's what I find interesting too. Back to what Breen said, and he used the word outrage, right? And he's absolutely right about you know the way what drives society. Like you can. I'll just make up an example here. You know, let's say if I was to tweet, you know, LeBron can't shine MJ's shoes, you know, jumping from, which he can, to be fair, jumping from team to team, you know, not even a top 3 player in the NBA, which I think he's 3 behind Michael and behind Kareem. I'm just saying this, right? Whatever else I throw in there, and it's inflammatory, and it's a little derisive, and it's combative, blah, blah, blah. That thing's going to get blown up. If LeBron, you know, makes a beautiful pass in a game, which he does all the time, and I'm watching the game, and I write, you know, man, we're going to really miss LeBron when he's gone. One of his understated great characteristics is his vision for that size, you know, his ability to see the floor. You tell me which one's going to get more traction and which one's going to get more action. It's the former. It's the negative stuff, not the latter. We know that. So Mike Breen's onto something with that. It's interesting, though. So you had the Bam thing the other night, 83 points, and now Shai Gilgeous-Alexander does something incredible, and some of you know what it is, and if you don't, I'll tell you what it is in a moment, because it hasn't gotten the juice that Bam got, and in a lot of ways, number one, I think it should, and I think it's tougher. So anything that encompasses time, to me, is more impressive than one singular crazy performance. Like, think about this. Like, let's say you've had a bunch of guys hit 4 home runs in a major league game. Nobody's hit 5. Let's say some dude this year hits 6 in a game. 6, right? And he finishes the year with 13 home runs. All right, just one of those wacky occurrences. So-and-so went bonkers. Everything was aligned. 6 home runs. We've never seen this before. And he's got, at that point, 7 the rest of the year, right? All right, you're going to, of course, remember him clearly, and he's going to be more than a footnote in the record book. But, like, okay, it was one all-time incredible, amazing night. But, you know, give me the guy who hit 43 home runs, even if he never had a single game with more than 1 home run. Like, to me, consistency is much more important than just busting out and doing something nuts. And I say that because Shai Gilgeous-Alexander broke a 63-year scoring mark, which was held by Wilt Chamberlain. I mean, if you didn't know how good Wilt was, hey, bam, most points was Wilt, 100. Oh, Shai just broke a record. Oh, whose record did he break? He broke Wilt Chamberlain's. So the record is this. This is incredibly impressive. And I do get on the modern NBA. It's too loose. The pace is quicker. The three-point shot, and I like a quick pace, but I say that because scoring records and scoring is easier now. More possessions, more threes, whatever, higher volume of shots. But Shai Gilgeous-Alexander just won 127 games where he scored 20 points or more. I mean, so you didn't turn your ankle. You didn't just have a woeful 1-for-11 night. Now, you might have, but you did enough to get to the free throw line to make sure you got more than 20 points. And he's not doing it for a shitty team. He's doing it for a championship team. To me, that is amazing to me. That is now, I'll give you a little context here. And nobody's talking about this, which kind of is in line with Mike Breen. We react to the negativity. You know, we just want to inundate the social media sphere with energy that tilts to the angry side, you know? Yeah, you'll get a couple of, you know, guys who cover the league throwing, you know, flowers and platitudes toward Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. But, I mean, you know, Bam's performance took over everything because it was controversial. So the second longest active streak, think about this guy. Guys, 127 straight games for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. The next closest is Kawhi. He's got 43. I mean, that's a long way to go. And by the way, Alexander's not even done yet. There's only, let me make sure I get this one right. Yeah. The only 21st century player to hit halfway to Shai's mark is Kevin Durant with 72. And Kevin Durant, you can make the case, is the most natural, best scorer of all time. You could make that case. It's top 3, you know. And then you look at some of these other luminaries on the list, like Oscar did it 79 straight games. MJ did it 72. Kareem did it 72. Elgin Baylor did it 64. Kobe did it 63. This dude's at 127. What a great stat. What a great, and I love it. You mentioned the Wizards. Isn't that awesome, Jay?
That's ridiculous.
God.
But
Man.
it checks out. What were you going to say about the Wizards?
Well, like, think about that. Like, if he was on the Wizards and, he was like, say he was drafted by the Wizards and they were awful and he could do whatever he wants and there was no emphasis on winning and, he was just, even if he was doing it on a bad team, it would be impressive. But the fact that you're doing it within the framework of a championship team is incredibly impressive.
I mean, it just shows he's, I wouldn't say he carries the Thunder, but
no, I wouldn't say that either, but
a strong backbone. I mean, and also that guy, he's on his own level of mid-range shooting. I mean, I guess you'd put him in that category with like Jordan, Kawhi Leonard, or Kevin Durant, but I swear to God,
Dirk.
Can't omit him.
I got you. Maybe Kobe with the fall away.
Yep.
Later,
I swear, I've never seen Shai miss that mid-range.
That's such a beautiful.
It's butter.
Isn't it good? It's beautiful. I know it is. What do we got here? What's up there, BK? All right, 61, 48, 85 splits, and 21. So that's obviously 61% overall from the field, 48% from three-point line, 85% for the stripe, for those who don't know what that means. 21-12 for Cat. The last 12 games. He's earned your respect, BT. I invited you. Listen, I'm so busy, man. I appreciate the invite. I don't know if I can make it happen. Keep them coming. Maybe a playoff game. But I did see one of those, and I know you've tried to follow up a few times. I really do sincerely appreciate that. I'm just so busy, man. But no, I've given Cat some props. I mean, Jay, you don't think that I've softened a little bit on Cat?
I'd say the last 2 weeks you've been pretty pro Cat. I feel like
I have been.
The ire has been shifted towards Jalen Brunson a little.
Yeah. A little ISO dominant. I read a stat. What the hell was it? And I read it quickly. I think I read it last night as I was in the beginning of a NyQuil haze because I don't feel well. But I believe that I read it properly. Is it like 5 straight games Mikal Bridges hasn't taken a free throw attempt?
Oof.
Did I read that right? Something like that. This West Coast, obviously, they played against the Lakers, you played against Denver. It was something. And he's averaging 6 points a game. My key is there's other Knicks that deserve to get hit, starting with the coach.
Yeah, he's on break to finish with less than 100 free throw attempts.
I mean, that's pathetic. It's pathetic, bro.
Yeah, he hasn't had one in 5 games.
Yeah, so I did read it properly.
Yeah. What the?
How the fuck is that possible? Honestly, how is that possible?
It's literally should be, frankly, I bet even Jose's got a fucking free throw.
Yes, no question. Oh, we love Jose. There's no doubt about it. I mean, I understand. I don't need you to get to the stripe 43 times like Bam. I don't need you to live at the stripe like an MJ or a Kobe. That's clearly not your game. But how does and you play a lot of minutes. You're not coming in for 7 minutes a night. You are a starter who plays heavy minutes. I know they've been reduced a little bit, and rightfully so, because his ass has been nailed to the bench a little bit, rightfully so. But he is perennially, he's an Iron Man of the NBA. We know the stat, and he's perennially among the highest minutes per game leaders. How does somebody not accidentally hit your arm as you're shooting a layup, or as you pump fake and do a little fall away or a minute? How do you not get to the free throw line once for 5 games? What? That's embarrassing.
No, absolutely
man.
Ridiculous. I had to hop out. We got a good clip there.
Yeah, I got you. They're good. Good editorial sense there is my producer. What he means by that, he's got to hop out so that we can get nice. I don't do things for shorts, but you want to make sure that when we put the shorts out there, we don't know J-Rod. We don't need J-Rod's bugging there.
No, it's funny how that's kind of not obviously become a content world, but it's really become such a piece of the greater show, is getting these little moments of clips of straight talking and stuff like that. I mean, I'm sure sports talk. Here's a question I had for you the other day.
Sure.
Pertaining to sports radio.
Love it.
So before the era of, let's say, Bleacher Report notification or following ESPN, that whole phenomena was sports news, trades, stuff like that, was that broken on radio or on television rather than, through an app or through Twitter or something like that.
Yeah.
How is breaking news in the sports world sort of brought out?
Well, I feel like there were a lot of times. That's a great question, man. I think there were a lot of times where I would wake up and my dad always had multiple newspapers delivered to the house and I couldn't wait to read them and consume them. I would actually read them when I was sitting there eating cereal. I would just read the papers. There was a point where I was reading the cereal boxes, like I was an expert on all the ingredients for all the different cereals. And then as I got to about the age of, I don't know, 7, I really started reading papers regularly. So you'd get breaking news in the newspaper.
Wow.
There were times, I'm trying to think, like the infancy of ESPN, or sometimes you might be watching, say, The Price is Right.
Okay.
But this was more like news stuff, like a bombing or a war, or when President Reagan got shot. I remember I was homesick that day, and thankfully wasn't killed, as most, if not all of you know. And I remember watching, I think it was The Price is Right, and they broke in, and that's how I learned that President Reagan was shot. So you would get a lot of break-ins like that.
Okay.
But yeah, on the radio, to me, like, it was paramount. Like, I would get in the car after a game, and I don't mean when I was just like a young kid in the car with my dad. If I had a game, say in college, like I played a lot of summer ball, obviously. I played a lot of summer ball, well, sometimes up in Harlem, but also for a year or two out east on Long Island. So I would get in the car, and I couldn't wait to hear 2020 update, whether it was Mink or Husler or somebody. What's the score? What do we got going on here? What's happening? So there was no immediacy. And, in a lot of ways, I don't want to say it was better, because that sounds like such an old head to get off the lawn. But yeah, things breathe. They breathe.
Yeah.
See, you know what I'm saying?
Well, because my thought was like, and I think I saw like an Instagram just like hypothetical about this, but like, I think now, with the immediacy of sports news and stuff like that, there's less like anticipation. Like, I think about it, like, imagine you're a Lakers fan or you're a Dallas fan, and you wake up one morning and you read the newspaper and you're just like, Luka got traded. Like,
oh God, yes.
Like,
yes.
Something like that, rather than
yes.
seeing it directly on your phone. So yeah,
I think that's a good point. I'll give you a great example here, right? So, all right, depending upon how much you want to consume, there is ample stuff to jump into for the NFL draft, which we will start amping up our coverage here on the show very, very soon, right? I mean, I've already done a bunch of stuff, but it's going to be a big focus on Unleashed, obviously, right? So back in the day, like, I remember, like, there was like magazines for sure, and I would buy them, and like there were a couple of like I guess you call them like newsletters that you could subscribe to. But you really, truly didn't know, like, what your team was going to do on draft night.
Yeah.
Unless you had the first overall pick and it was a layup, like, all right, Peyton's going to go first overall, somebody like that. You depending upon how much college football you watched, depending upon what you thought the team's needs were, because there weren't like these constant updates, like, all right, Muji or Shane or these other general managers going out and talking about, like, end of the season. There was, but it wasn't they would do that, and it would be written about, but they wouldn't dissect it. It wasn't dissected digitally, which then would allow others to say, well, all right, hey, the Jets have a need here, the Giants have a need here. Hey, maybe they do take the safety Caleb Downs at 5 or 2. So, like, you knew some of the best players, but you just didn't have much of a roadmap as to what your team was thinking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
No, absolutely. It probably just brought much more of a mystique to the sport. Like, where now as a fan, you almost feel, which I'm sure you always did, but like, you feel like you have a say in the team almost now as a fan.
I agree.
Back then, you're almost looking up towards a team who's doing things that you're not really as.
I agree. And by the way, Jay, you know why? You know why that is? I think a lot of it is the explosion of fantasy sports. I mean, now, yes, let's take the analytical. Let's take Fishman for the Yankees, right? Take any analytical, and he drives me nuts with those analytics, but I know he's in charge of them, so that's why I say his name. Take any analytical team. Yeah, they're going to have like more access, and they have a professional editor who can, video and all that stuff. But really, like, in terms of spin rate, which is basically very, very basic at this point, there is nothing from a numbers point of view, whether it's exit velo or sprint speed or arm strength or spin rate or reliance. This guy throws his fastball, his two-seamer. 27% of the time. But last year it was 26% of the time. Oh, well, he's throwing the changeup more this year. That's up from 7% to 12%. And then that I love that. I don't really talk about it much, but I do look at that. Like if a pitcher's struggling, I will go to Fangraphs and other outlets and look at, all right, what's his average fastball? How much is he relying on it? Is it different from previous years? Is there a pattern that I could try to piece together and say, he's going with this pitch more and it's not working, blah, blah, blah. So the point is, and I'm not the only one who has access to that. I might dive into it more than some other hosts. Some people laugh at it who do these jobs and, they're on the air daily, like they're just not interested by it. And that's fine. I find it interesting because it makes me smarter and it gives me actual irrefutable evidence in terms of data points that I can bring to expand the conversation. But the ability to look at those numbers kind of has made everybody a pseudo general manager. And when you have access to that and you're intelligent enough to process it, or you want to, now you do feel that latitude to express yourself like a GM. So I think that's a good point.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? I think you're onto something. I just don't know if you knew the origin of it. I think it's fantasy sports. I do.
No, that's very interesting. I mean, I guess it makes sense. You kind of get put in your own GM seat. So there you go.
Mm-hmm. Let me get Brack 227. Morning, BT. Mark from Clifton. What's going on, Mark? How you doing, buddy? Yes, I do know you. Big fan of the show. When's the merch coming out? Need baby merch. Baby girl's only a month away now. Bear down. A month away. God bless you. I don't know. I mean, my wife's in the other room. Should I yell and ask her, hey, honey, when's the merch coming? That's how we do it these days, right? When's the merch coming, baby? Is she walking toward me? Did she hear me? I don't know if she heard me. I'll get the answer, Mark. More importantly, hopefully soon. All right, first of all, hopefully soon. 1 month away. Now, Mark, I'm trying to remember. Is this your first? I think that you told me that it was. We do this on Unleashed. We like to step away from the sports a little bit. Let me give advice to every dad who is preparing to become a dad for the first time. Not that you can't do it for the second one, but for the first time. I remember when can you not fly as a woman? I think they say don't fly third trimester. I think. Anyway, my wife could obviously still fly, right? Halfway through the pregnancy, whatever was good by the doctor, goes to Texas because then she wouldn't be home for a while, sees her mom and dad, and I lay back, obviously out of work, etc. So I remember we were in a condo at this point, and it was a 3-bedroom, and I loved it. It was actually looking at Manhattan, Weehawken area, if you know that area. Great spot, awesome. And we had our bedroom, and then we had another bedroom, which was my man cave, my office. Then we had another bedroom, which was primarily Grammy and Papa's when they would come from Dallas, or like if somebody came over and they didn't want to drive and it'd crash you good, something like that, right? And then my son was born, and I lost my office, thankfully, happily. And then my daughter was born, thankfully, happily. We lost the in-law suite, if you will, right? Anyway, and then eventually we moved to our home now. But when she went to Texas, I remember I was really into scotch. I still like scotch. I don't drink it as much. Don't drink it during the summer at all, really. Once in a while during the winter. I do love a good scotch. I really do, right? But I was really even more into it then. And I remember I had a bottle of Johnny Blue that somebody gave me. And I cranked up some rock music, right? Got the Stones going, a little Def Leppard, mixing a little Beastie Boys, even though they're not rock. A little Billy Joel, a little Simon and Garfunkel, a little Tupac, a little Dre, a little M, a little Metallica, a little AC/DC. I got the beats going. And I painted his room. And it was just me. It was just me in the apartment. And I painted it Yankee blue, right? And the joy that I got, and then we did the same for my daughter. And the joy that I got doing that as soon to be dad is something that it's hard to replicate that. So if you have the extra space and you said that it's going to be a girl, so you can do whatever you want in accordance with the gender, that's one of my best memories from that apartment, actually. Just cranking the music, Wasn't getting drunk, just sipping. I mean, maybe at the end of the day I was, but just kind of sipping the scotch. It was so gratifying. And because as a dad, I mean, let's face it, the wife's carrying around the baby. The wife gives birth. If the wife breastfeeds, there's only so many things. Pretty much the only reason the man is there for the first couple of months to get yelled at by the mom to get something. Do you have the diapers? Do you have my bottles? Do you have this? Do you have that? Do it. If that is my advice to any dad, I mean, a mom can do it as well, but I associate that as something that I wanted to do as a dad, wanted to do as a man, and it was awesome. So if you get a chance to do that, do it. I was going to tell you a Mike Breen story real fast. J-Rod, you're going to like this. Pop in, man. Pop in.
Yes, sir.
This is how good of a guy Mike Breen is. Do you know the name Tim Donaghy? Do you remember that name?
He's the ref, right? Who had like a bunch of the controversies.
That's a nice way of saying that he's a criminal who went to jail for fixing NBA games. Yes, the controversies. Come on, dude. What are we doing? Don't dial it down. This is Unleashed, man. So I get him on the show. I get him on my old show. I don't know how I got him, man. Villanova guy, and it was one of the best interviews I've ever done. And I actually ended the interview with, now this is when he's out of jail, like he's done, right?
Yeah.
Out of the NBA, already disgraced ref, kicked out of the NBA, did his jail time, paid his penance. Now he's on the comeback. I got him on my show. And I end the interview with, hey, who do you like in the Nets game tonight? True story. I swear. And he laughed, thank God. True story. That's how I ended the interview, right? But it was a really good interview.
Sure.
And Bob Raceman, who's a guy who used to cover the media forever. He hasn't written in a while. I hope he's okay. Have not seen an article from Bob in the news for probably 8 months. I mean, he didn't write anything about BT and Sal or Carton coming back. I don't know if he writes anymore. And I hope he's healthy, right? Even though he used to take shots at me all the time back in the day. Long story short, we're in Hoboken. And as a matter of fact, we're going out to eat. The bedroom that I painted, that story that I told you, we went out to eat in Hoboken, right? So my parents came in, and it was Jen and myself and pre-kids, whatever. And we're going out, and the phone rings, and it's Mike Breen. And I knew Mike from seeing him, but I didn't have that kind of relationship. I had him on the show like once or twice. Never called me. Didn't really text a ton back then. He goes, this is how stand-up a guy Mike Breen is. He goes, hey, I just wanted to reach out to you, Brandon. He said, Raceman's writing a big article tomorrow. I guess it already came out digitally, and I hadn't seen it, and it's about your interview with Tim Donaghy. And, I want you to really know that wasn't I'll tell you what he meant by it. It wasn't my intention. I would never do that to you. I've got great respect for you. I'm a fan. And I believe that. And I'm like, well, I said, I appreciate that, Mike. I don't really know exactly what you're talking about, but when I see it, I'll definitely apply what you just told me on the phone. And we're good, man. Thanks for calling out. Thanks for calling me. Stand up, move. Hang up. So the article come out. I'm like, all right, what's the article? So I go on my phone, and it says something like Breen ruins, or Breen torpedoes Tierney's great interview. Like it was main story, right? And what had happened was after I interviewed Tim Donaghy, Mike Breen called the control room, and he's like, hey, I'd love to go on with BT. He's talking to my producer now. I'd love to go on with BT. Some people thought he was shilling for the NBA. I didn't, and I would tell you if I did, I didn't really take it that way. I certainly didn't take it that he was trying to bogart my interview and usurp my not at all, because he's not that kind of guy. But Raceman looking for an angle. So basically, it goes from me and Tim Donaghy, and I'm young, I'm trying to climb up and get some more stripes, and prove myself. And I was so proud of the interview. I crushed it, man. And then I got him to say things I really didn't think he was going to say. And then Mike calls, and and my producer's like, do you want to put him on? I'm like, yeah, put him on. I love Mike. So then Mike comes on, says what he says. So Raceman talks about that, and Mike Breen actually called me to let me know that was not my intention. I am so sorry. Because he sees the article, and listen, he understands what it's like to be young, trying to work your way up in the business, like we all did, like he did for sure before he became a megastar. And he wanted me to know in no uncertain terms that was not his intention. And I really respected that. I really appreciate that. Do me a favor, see if you can find it. See if you can find the article. I don't think it's a paywall. And if it is, then it is what it is. But I think if you type in, just my name and Mike Breen and Tim Donaghy and Bob Raceman, Raissmann, I believe is how you do it or how you spell it.
Yeah, I'm checking.
Yeah, you can check. It's all good. How about that, though? 127 straight games with 20 points or more. I remember feeling so good if I would score 20 points in a CYO game once. Like, I was more around that, 11, 12, 13. Never the best player on the team. A starter. Fine. Good shooter. But, like, if I drop 20, I'm like, it's on. I think MJ tonight. I mean, this guy does it every single night. Every night. Anything popping up there, Jay?
Okay. Wow, Mike Breen cannot touch the Shaq disc. Is that what it is?
No. I don't think, no, it was not.
Exchange your name. Okay. There was a link to the article. It got taken down.
Oh, did it really?
Yeah, which stinks. But yeah, I believe because it said was interviewed earlier this week by ESPN 1050's Brandon Tierney and exchanged the New York Daily News Bob Raceman called riveting, relevant, meaningful, and then like the link that is connected to
gone.
You click on it, it's gone.
Why'd they get rid of it? What are they trying to have any evidence that I existed? Yeah. You got FAN wiping the libraries out of me and Sal. You got Raceman and Daily News wiping out the good stories when I get a little bit short. I bet you if it was a shitty story, they would have kept it up, right?
They're getting rid of history, man. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they just gotta, I guess, probably clear out some backlogs, but
don't clear that. Get somebody else out. There was a million stories on Mad Dog and Mike. Clean out one of those. I didn't get those big stories like that too often. What do you got going on this weekend? What are we cooking up there, Jay? We got to ask about the Friday.
No, I know.
Come on.
And then I gotta conjure up something in 10 seconds to make it seem like I got something. No, I mean,
it's okay. Don't lie. It's okay.
No,
it's
I mean, I'm playing. I'm sure by the night I'll have a hole to drink in. I'll have a spot to get my fix.
Get my fix.
But yeah, right.
Nothing yet.
Currently right now. No, I don't think so. I mean, let's see. I don't know if my brother, he might still be in town at home, so I might say what's up to him. But yeah, no, other than that, get after it. Take a bite out the Big Apple. That's
all right. A little low key. It's funny. So, I lived in Manhattan for, let me see, I would say a good 8-9 years, right? 2 girlfriends during that span, but it got to the point, and I look back now and I'm like, man, where I'm like, I'm not going to go out. I'm just going to lay on the couch, watch the Yankees. You know what I mean? Like, and think about all those, I'm not trying to sound, like whatever, but all the nights where, just to hit, and I don't even want to go back to that point because I'm so happy now, but all those nights are, I don't need to go out, man. I don't need to go out. Like, do you feel compelled to go out, or are you comfortable just saying, you know what? Nothing's going on. I'm chilling at home. I'm going to just relax and do nothing.
I think Fridays are when I really feel that compulsion of like, okay, I got to go out. And maybe it's just the thing where you're just like, okay, everyone else I know is probably going out, even though when you talk to them, they go, I didn't even do anything anyway. But yeah, I'd say Friday, I really feel that compulsion. Saturday nights, it's a toss-up for me. Either I'm like, okay, I really want to go out. I want to get my drink on. I want to get my party on. Or it's kind of like, I'm done. Like, I'm tapped out. Like, I just need to get a good night's sleep into a productive Sunday type deal. And like, I don't know. To me, that feels the best. But yeah, I mean, I'm a 50-50 guy, but when it comes to Fridays, I gotta go out.
To me, I get it. I get it. To me, the best times are when you kind of stumble upon something organic. It's like, hey, you want to go grab a beer? And you wind up having, whatever your limit is, I don't mean you crawl out on me, but it just turns into a very unexpected, you maybe get a couple of wings and have a beer, and then it just turns into a great night. Like, those are the ones to me that I love. By the way, I was just looking at my phone, right? So we are at 989,000 views since we launched.
No, okay, so today we'll hit 1 million.
We're going to hit 1 million today. We're going to hit 1 million today, which is awesome, man. I can't wait. I mean, it's not like anything's going to happen when I hit 1 million, but, maybe cook up a little graphic, have a little fun, but it's awesome. Like 1 million.
Representatives from YouTube are going to come to your door with a comically large check.
Wow, that would be nice. We can someday maybe, but what I really want to get is that YouTube plaque that you get for 100,000 subs. That thing's pretty. Have you seen that?
No, that one's fun. The silver one, that one's great. the ridiculous one. I don't know if you've ever seen this one. I mean, this would be a true mark of excellence. But like, have you ever seen the 10 million subscriber play button?
On, I have not. What does it look like? I haven't
diamond.
seen that. What?
It's diamond. It's like a diamond cut, like, you know, like it's probably made out of glass if you ask me.
Sure.
But it's like a diamond cut YouTube play button. It's ridiculous.
Man, we're not getting that thing. We're not. I mean, 10 million. Like, come on, we're not 10
never
million.
Say never.
I hear you. It's true.
Gotta, man. You'd have to do something ridiculous though. We'd have to really find an oil. What's the word? I don't know. I always think about this with YouTube.
Go ahead.
You got like. Once we find our oil rig, like, you know, like There Will Be Blood, you know, that movie where they hit the oil and it strikes and it spurts and you find oil. Yeah. Once you find that, I think it's when the subscribers come rolling in. Once you find like a little method that perfectly works.
Yes,
I think that's when it comes.
Yeah, no, it's gonna. I don't know. Again, I hope 10 million comes, but you know, let's
10. I mean, yeah, most. I'll say.
I hope I get a million.
I'd say most YouTubers. Well, most YouTubers never even sniff where we're at. You know, when you really think about it, most people who have posted on YouTube all time only really see 6 subscribers, 7 subscribers. Like,
well,
so
I know I've done a deeper dive and. I did this when we first launched here, and basically only like 7 or 8% of all YouTube channels have over 1,000 subs or 10,000 subs.
Yeah, I
mean, something like that. But you know what? Listen, I know gaming is very big, obviously, very big.
PT gaming.
Well, now hold on. What if we hit everybody with, and I don't mean every day, obviously you do the show every day, but what if we hit everybody with an old school gaming, because there were some games.
Oh my gosh!
And I would destroy
You're
people.
In my mind. I was thinking about this the other day.
Are you serious? Let me hear it. Go ahead. Really?
Well, I mean, I was like, if you and I played a game together, or you played a game, or someone did a game, like, and obviously we don't have to do any modern 2K nonsense or anything.
The old school stuff.
I think that would be. Oh my God!
How do we do that, man? Talk to me.
It's tough to play. It's tough. It would be tough for us to find an old school game that we could play not in person. I mean,
know.
It always it'd be easy for me to always link, and you know, anytime I could link
up.
I
would destroy everybody.
Yeah,
there were some of these games I was great at. Like,
and then
back in the day, I was awesome at these games.
I had another silly idea, but I mean, this is like a mod. I wouldn't want to do this really, but like
get it out.
It's like a very modern thing with the TikToks where it'll be a video, it'll be your face talking, and then the other 2 sort of like, you know, parts of the screen is just like 2K footage, Madden footage, stuff like that. Like, and that stuff is like so good for TikTok and Instagram traction, just because it gives you like more visual stimulation while you're watching.
No, listen, I love ideas. I do. There were a couple of games like RBI baseball. I played a lot. Obviously, there was one game we would play,
dude.
If I tell you, I actually got into a fist fight with one of my best friends, who I still talk to, and I was in a sling. All right, because I had just had Tommy John surgery. And thankfully, it got broken up, and you know, I was still able to throw him around a little bit with one hand. That's my boy. Thankfully, it got broken up. But we were playing. We would talk so much shit when we played these games. The level of anger, it was crazy. And we would play college football, which I honestly was not that good in. We would play NBA 2K, which I was phenomenal in. I was great at that. And then we would play Tiger Woods EA Sports.
Okay, classic.
Okay, now you got to imagine this, right? And when I tell you the level of shit that we would talk, so we'd be there. You'd have the remote, right? And I got so good. And if I can find this game, it would take me 2 or 3 times to play, and I promise you, I would get this good again. That's how good I was at this particular game. And I would sit there. I'd be like, all right, I'm talking about on the tee box. All right, 187 yards. You got the wind a little left to right, 13 miles an hour. Because you remember those games, you'd have to hit it was a very simple console, a very simple controller. It would have like the directional thing and then the A and the B, right? Yeah. and you'd have to hit the A to initiate the swing. And then when it got max value, blah, 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 you got to hit it on the right spot so it's not going left to right. And I would talk my way through the swing like, all right, 182, let me get the 5-iron, wind doing this, 13 miles an hour. As I'm swinging, yeah, I don't really have to go all the way. Let me get about 92% full power. Let me bang this in here. I get hole ones. Like, I would actually talk shit and get aces.
That's crazy.
Jay, and we would play $1 a hole, right?
Oh, snap.
Oh, dude. And, not that we certainly weren't rolling the money. I mean, it was still a buck. It doesn't matter if it's 1950. It's a buck. It's not 100, but it was more about the pride. And it was more about the owning the other guy. And these are my college teammates, some of my best friends still. Like, I still talk to both of them. And the one thing, and I would hate this, Matty would do this to me. He'd have this way, like, because if he beat me, and he really didn't beat me in golf, but if he beat me in something else, I would just sit there and I would stew. I wouldn't say anything, and I look around, and he would know that he was going to wait a little bit, let that anger languish, right? And then he'd say, "Hey B," he would call me B man, "Hey B," and I would ignore him because I knew what he was going to do. B, and he'd right next to me, "B man," and I go, "What?" He'd go, "Keep your chin up." Oh, dude. Chin up. And when he would drop the chin up, and there were different versions of keep your chin up. Sometimes it would be like just like that, or sometimes it would say, hey. Sometimes he'd throw a wink in. Hey, chin up, brother.
That's brutal.
I felt like putting my fist down his throat.
Yeah,
I felt like killing him.
Being my brother, freaking going at it. Oh my god.
I know, man. Glory days. All right, what do we got here? Super game. Oh, this might be a little gaming intel. Super game chill bros 6643. What's up there, Mr. Super Gamer Man Chill Bros? We had our channel and had the time put in the effort, but life just cut the channel short. If things were different, we'd be a bit more successful, but I like to just be a listener and watcher now. That's great. Listen, I'm not looking. I appreciate that very much. So thank you. I'll put that back up. That was a pretty generous thing. I don't want to just swipe that. Yeah, keep his handle up there. Give him a little love. I'm not looking to start a gaming channel. I mean, I do what I do.
Next level.
Oh my God. But I think that it would be interesting. And really, I'd be coming at it as the old head. I tell you, like, I've got a good relationship with EA Sports, but and God, their games are amazing. And my son loves them. But some of the, the controllers confuse me. I'm just going to call for what it is. I don't know what the fuck to do. I don't know what turbo, twist, spin, jump, dive. Then you got the buttons up top, not the little directional, but like those little click things. There's a million plays to choose from. When I'm playing, I'm just like, go route, click, shotgun, go route. It's just too much for me.
So in your, I guess, adulthood, since 2000.
Okay.
Have you, because my dad has been like a pretty big gamer my whole life. Even like the modern Xbox games and stuff like that. Has that ever been your kind of thing now where you're playing the modern-ish kind of thing?
I remember, let's see here. I remember when I was living in Manhattan. So this was obviously post 2003.
Yeah.
I went out and I guess I got Sega, and I had the college basketball game, and I had the golf game, right?
Okay, yeah.
But I don't think it was Tiger. The story that I told you before, my buddy was like, keep your chin up. That was Tiger Woods. I think that was like 94, like EA Tiger, I think. This was more modern, and what I loved about this, to answer your question, I played for a little bit, but what I liked about that was that you can design your own, like you can make you. I made myself all jacked, and I had like the scruff and the shaved head and the sick gear and like the nice belt and the cool pants. And, I had to make myself, look the part there. And I played that for a while. I really did. And then I remember playing Doom, but the Doom was a long time ago.
Yeah.
No, I get it was. I would say the last outside of playing with my son, usually get my face kicked in. Like he'll just mock me. We'll be playing basketball. Like we'll do like Legends. And like I'll be the Nick team, right? And I'll have like Ewing and Bernard King and Willis Reed and like the Busher and Carmelo's on the team and Amari and Starks and Brunson. And he'll be the Warriors dynasty team, right?
Sure.
And I'm losing it's like 71-29. And he's like, oh, I'm going to go over here, drain one of the mug. I'm going to hit a three right here.
Yeah, just pulling with Curry the whole time.
I'm like, if he had any idea how good I used to be at this, he's lucky. I just don't know what's going on.
No, it's a whole nother game and thing.
It's amazing.
With
It's
the
amazing.
Consoles.
Yep.
But yeah, wait, all right, if I have enough time before I have to run out, I'm gonna try to do like a little quick 2K clip with like Bam Adebayo, and I'll throw it at the
Oh,
box.
dude, yeah, let's see
I
it,
think
man.
that'd be funny.
I'd love to see it. Did you ever play? You had to play Mike Tyson Punch Out, right?
Oh man, one or two times maybe
That's
at
it?
the arcade or on like the Atari kind of machines, but
I think that was Nintendo, if I remember right.
Yeah,
I thought that
yeah,
was Nintendo.
yeah.
Maybe not. I thought so. Right?
Definitely on one of the machines I played it, but never like at home playing Mike Tyson Punch Out. But I know that's a classic.
All right, so I'm gonna hit you with a couple of old school systems, and you tell me if you've either heard of it or if you've ever played it.
Mm-hmm.
In television.
No.
I know.
Yeah, no shot.
There was one person. Can you do me a favor?
Yeah.
Can you cook up, if you can find it, in television baseball? And if you could, if there's any way, which I know there is, but if you could do it, pop it up on the screen, right?
Mm-hmm.
I remember there was one person in my neighborhood who had it, and I felt like I was like the king of the arcade jungle. And to look back, I loved it. In television, I didn't get to play much. In television was one. Did you have a lot of Activision games? Were you into Activision?
Yeah, the company itself, yes, but probably much more of like the newer titles. Like,
yeah, for sure.
Like they're like Call of Duty and stuff like that now.
All right. You ever play Pitfall, old school?
I don't think so.
That's a good one. I like that. This guy in the jungle, like you had to like grab a vine and swing over like lions and stuff. It was pretty good. Have you ever heard of ColecoVision?
Is it CALICO?
No, I believe it was CO.
Oh,
ColecoVision. It was good.
No,
Donkey
man.
Kong, stuff like that.
And also, here's the Intellivision baseball.
Look at this. This is the first baseball video game that I ever played in my life. Look at that thing.
That is crazy. The yellow person is like the runner?
Yeah.
Right
yeah,
there? Okay.
Yeah. Look at that. Jeez. Put that back up there. Hold on.
Yeah,
I'm remembering
wait,
this.
look.
Let me get that again. That was, look at it. Looks like he just took it through the box. We'll base it up the middle. Center fielder. Yeah, I remember when the ball would go to the guy, he would turn a different color, and then the runner was obviously a different color to differentiate. And the best part about this was the rundowns. Like you could get in, and this applies to all the other games too, not just this. In television, my God, the rundowns were the best, man. Because if you were good at rundowns, you could just toy with your buddy, and you could just talk smack and school them. Wow, look at that! When you see that, what do you think of? It's got to seem like 1,000 years ago.
Yeah, it's like I don't even know how it would even work. But so my dad for Christmas, like my grandmother got him like one of those old school, like they exist now. Like you can get a kind of like a gaming device that has all of these games on it. Like all the ColecoVision games, all the Intellivision games would be on this kind of device. And I was playing like the OG like basketball one, like the original basketball game where all you can really do is jump and like shoot it. And those are they're ridiculous.
Well, there was a game. Yeah, there was a game. I think it was called Bird versus Dr. J.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like, it was very simple. Like there was just like steel swipe ball, and then just like the straight up jump.
Yeah, like George Mikan in 1957 for the Minneapolis Lakers. And I remember then they started like introducing, you could play like in the schoolyard, and now it had a little different slant to it, like a little hood, which was real basketball. Like now we're playing basketball. It was pretty cool. This guy's on the money with this, Charlie. Yeah, Charlie, man, this happened all the time. Charlie F 6675. Contra was another game that I loved. I used to love playing Contra with my buddy Brian. That was because I would be on one part of the screen, he was on the other part, and we would play jointly. We play against, I guess, whomever we were fighting. I forget, but Contra was good. I remember playing with childhood friends, and one buddy would take the plug out of the outlet before he lost the game. Oh, Madden 95 brought out some craziness in kids. So Yeah, I think I told you guys the story, but I'm not 100% sure. I'll tell you real quick since we're talking about video games and we don't do it that much. So I guess I'm like probably a sophomore in college. I'm living off campus, and I'm with my buddy Dano, who I'm still great friends with this day. You know, one of my best friends, right? Was at our wedding, all that. Absolute best friend, love him. And we lived together, played baseball. He played baseball, and we would have death matches. Like he'd destroy me in hockey. Like I sucked in hockey. I don't really know that much about hockey. I've kind of been honest about that. I just sucked. I didn't really give it much interest. Football was kind of close. Baseball, I was better, but it was close, right? Sure. And we'd have death matches, man. We'd have like 7-game World Series. We'd come home after practice, have a dip, and just sit there, get a nice like chicken cutlet Parmesan hero from the store. You know, we start our college night. And I remember this one game. It had to be Game 7, just based on the way I reacted here. And there was a ground ball. I was the Yankees, and like this was like way before Jeter. My shortstop, I believe it was Mike Gallego, was the shortstop. It was like Mattingly, Pat Kelly, maybe Mel Hall, Noakes, guys like that. But even though they sucked, I had to be the Yankees. Yeah. And he was Seattle with like Buhner and Griffey and those cats, Edgar. And I remember, I think he had the bases loaded, and it was a ground ball to short. And I'm like, I got it, man. And like it would have ended the game. It was a layup. It was like a 2-hopper to short, step on the bag, game over. Sure. And there was a glitch in the game where you couldn't control it. And I'm like, and I remember saying to myself, just don't glitch, dude. Don't glitch here. And it was based on defensive prowess, the numbers. They did have a rating system. It goes right through his freaking legs.
Oh, my God.
Dude, I didn't do anything wrong. It was the glitch. Goes to the wall, run score. 1 run scores, ties it up. Next guy comes home, game over. Now, I'm sitting here, Jay. I'm sitting right here. He's that way, all right? And to the right of me is our window that leads to the street. As soon as that ball went through his legs and that second run scored, I jumped up and I grabbed the entire console and I ripped it out of the wall and I threw it out the window onto the street. Onto the street.
No way.
Oh my God, dude.
You're one of those.
No. I wasn't one of those, but the text there made me remember that. Now, I didn't like losing, but that was the absolute worst. And the crazy thing is too, I wasn't finished. Then I took like an idiot. I took like 2 or 3 games and I threw them out the window too when I was done with the console. And then, of course, you had the remorse. I'm like, let me go down and see if anything works. A truck actually, I don't know which game it was. A truck ran over one of the games.
Because, I would have this happen like when I was a younger, like I'd play my boys in 2K and like, listen, I'm not going to toot my own horn here, but I'm decent at 2K.
I believe you, Jay.
And
can you beat Bada Booms? Can you wax him?
Oh, wait.
Here we go.
I got to text him that. We have to do that. We should totally live stream that. That would be
so
much fun.
And me and Sal will announce the game.
Commentate. Wait, that would be so.
We'll announce the game.
Easy.
All right, done. Boom. Keep going. Right. Set it up.
We'll do that. But I remember when I was younger, I was at my grandparents' house and I had my buddy over. He's like, my camp friend, good friend. But this is my first time ever having this dude at my house.
Okay.
We're playing 2K. I think I'm up 30-something on this guy.
Oh, you're waxing him.
Yeah. He takes my controller and chucks it across the entire house and cracks it against the wall. And I'm just like, bro.
Whoa.
What are you doing? And then, obviously we were fine after that. I was like a little kid. So, you don't really in the moment, you're not just like, oh,
I know
what's going on, dude.
Yeah, sure.
But looking back, man.
Wow.
Man.
Now, and back then, and what game was it? Was this Sega?
NBA 2K. No, on Xbox One.
On Xbox. Okay. So, and what year is this about?
Costs a pretty penny.
What, I was
2018, 2019.
Okay. So you still could have. Okay, I'm thinking like if that would have happened, which it did, as I just told you my story, like I couldn't just go on Amazon and order a console or like it was a little bit of a process, not to mention it was very expensive.
No, I probably had a controller the next day. I probably
exactly. Yeah, man, I lost it. I went wild, dude. I ripped it out of the wall, the plugs, and we were on the we were on the second story. I didn't just like loft it out. I took it out and I like ugh. Tough loss. Tough loss. All right, so we got J-Rod's plans for tonight, for the weekend. I've got the Johnnies and I've got Seton Hall. They played last Friday night. I did that game with Mink. Looking forward to it again. Big East tournament's going to be phenomenal. I love that it's, the Johnnies and Seton Hall and Villanova and Georgia and UConn, which is going to be a lot of fun. I think that that's just good for the conference. So you go back to those old staples. So we'll see what happens. And then tomorrow's the championship. Sunday is Selection Sunday, of course. We'll find out where I'm going to be going with St. John's, all the other conferences, all the snubs. We'll hit that. I'm not just going to make it about St. John's on Monday. We'll obviously jump into that. We'll dive into it. I'm going to try to do this at some point this weekend. I'd like to get it up by Sunday, and I think I'll be able to. So I did the all-time Yankee lineup, the all-time Met lineup, post 80. Well, I have it. I just actually have to record it. What I did was I did a hybrid, so a collection of Yankees and Mets, all-time post 80, 1 through 9 lineup. And I'd like to do that and drop that on, but then again, Sunday Selection Sunday. Maybe I'll wait a couple of days for that. I don't want that to get kind of lost with the college hoop stuff. I got to text Stephen A on Sunday to see how he's feeling. And if he's feeling good, hopefully he's okay with that little procedure today with dental stuff. Then we'll get him on next week. Got good stuff coming, man. J-Rod, really good week, dude. Get those shorts out. Do what you do.
Yes,
have fun tonight. All right. And I will talk to you over the weekend for sure, Jay. You have yourself a good weekend, man.
Sir, good weekend.
Thanks, man. Thanks. Everybody else out there, have an awesome rest of your Friday. Have a fantastic weekend. If you're going to be doing a little celebrating this weekend for St. Patty's, which I'm sure some of you will be smart, be sensible. Don't be a dope. Don't get behind the wheel. Be smart. Have a good time, but be smart. And I will catch you either at some point this weekend with some other content or obviously Monday at 10. Have a great weekend. Peace.
This is Unleash. Are you listening? Can you hear me? This is Unleash. Are you listening? Can you hear me? This is Unleash. Are you listening? Can you hear me? This is Unleash. Are you listening? Can you hear me?
With your